Ekiti o yetikeo. Gigi, iniga no dago winanak. Ots kana wewe neo. Pasqua mostoswa. Emini kwetek. Dagamio. Muktoan beka boy asaik ewasigo. Atikekik minsa.
Dr. Ann Anderson was one of the very first people who recognized the importance of the Cree language and saving it. And her mothers had always impressed upon her the importance of speaking the language and being proud of who you were. And so she took it upon herself in about the 1970s, when people were not doing this kind of a thing, to start to teach the Cree language, even just she started to, I think, to like tutor people like out of her house, just to talk to them in the Cree language, and eventually ended up getting grants and things like that, and starting to self-publish little books, which are literally like this kind of little book, where she because I worked with her one summer, it was like printed on like a Xerox photocopier, and then stapled together, and then tape put on them to hold them together. Like she's like literally self-publishing her own books.
Ayagam giskso kitsanawak di dagam mama da ko kochik apakaten ko suwinawaw ego di da.
We're really all about the preservation, long-term preservation and life cycle of an artwork, right? So that includes restoration, which is mostly concerned with restoring it back to the original, making it look good. Conservation takes a much more conservative approach where minimal intervention, we look at preventive maintenance and more preventive measures, but restoration is part of conservation as well. When I was brought on in 2009, we didn't actually know what the public art collection was. There was no real inventory. We had a binder from the city, and there were a couple city departments that actually had pictures, Polaroids basically, here and there, of things that they thought were public art. And that could be a plaque that's on a rock, or a plaque on a bench, or some other kind of commemorative that was in a park that was in their jurisdiction. It was really rare that it was actually of a sculpture or an actual piece of artwork. And so what we had to do was just to go out and comb the city, find stuff. And that's actually brings us to this piece, the Lloyd Pinay Buffalo in Dr. Ann Anderson Park, is just one of those pieces where we had no idea until 2014 that this piece even existed. And it was just happenstance. And so we're constantly finding pieces throughout the city.
I think that the bison is the perfect animal to describe Dr. Anderson, because a bison is an animal that is very headstrong. When it gets in its mind to go somewhere, it just goes. The other thing that is important to a bison is the collective good of the whole herd. And so when they move together because it's for safety in the numbers. When they're taking care of the small baby ones, they go in the center and the elders are on the outside. And so she had, I think, at the core of her being, the idea of that well-being of the people. And she knew that the language would help people to stay safe within that idea of keeping the culture alive. I think without saying it, she knew that the language was the bearer of the culture. And she knew that we would need that now. And so she worked as hard as she could to keep that language alive.
Kanuenagok o tabo ke tamon owawa ekusiteta kechena ho hewak o toa simsowawa ayeniskats teta kitse tamiet ego teta nsto tamiet.
I actually can't remember if it was a city contact who got a hold of us and said, hey, there's this sculpture here and it's been hit really badly with spray paint. Can someone come take a look at it? And we just said, we got no idea what you're talking about. So then the forensics starts, the bit of detective work starts to try and track down how the thing got there. Luckily, there was a plaque. There were community members that had some information as well. There was some documentation in the press dating back to 1994 when the piece was created and the park was commemorated. But up until 2014, we had no idea that this piece existed, so it was kind of a happy accident. You could see the layers of black spray paint, some blue paint on there. You could see that it had been hit with silver spray paint, so we just took our cleaning kit out there, documented it as best as we could, tried to clean it up with what we could at that time. And then we had another cleaning campaign on it as well, because we really just wanted to get it looking good. As good as possible in the time that we had. It's made out of bronze. The artist himself, Lloyd Pinay, is from Saskatchewan. He's been sculpting his whole life, started off doing clay, fired clay sculptures, and then started working his way into stone. And then eventually in the 1980s, he got interested in doing bronze work. And that leads us to, the piece, the attempted theft of the artwork too, right? Because as a bronze work, it could fetch some good money at a scrapyard. 3 of the 4 hoofs, someone had tried to cut through to take the buffalo. The piece itself is connected to this giant concrete base, and so the whole operation requires full removal of everything. We can't just take the sculpture and pick it out and leave the base behind. All had to be done in one go. So the piece itself came out. We had the base remade, and all of the cuts in the hoofs had to all be welded closed and then reintegrated. So we worked with a local bronze company on that, and then had the new concrete base made, put it back in place like nothing happened.
Niak ekositeta sagaskine huyatikwen tapskuts piesesak ka nigamontike kwa kehiu ka bemastimoyat Naya what's donik. Mianan shogiswin. Egwa kaketa wetamwin. Dita kitse maigok. Niwago maganenanak.
The reason we should recognize strong Métis women is because they haven't been before. Métis society is, at heart, a matriarchal society. We need to have those role models for our women today. Not just our older women, but our younger women, right? We don't often have a good sense of being proud of who we are and recognizing those heroes for who they are. I would say she was a hero because she worked tirelessly to have this language be kept and be spoken.
A te ye tikeo. Mina kinanaskam Oje ni de nak. Au.